minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation, triumphantly. Won't you help to sing another song of freedom? Is all I ever have. Redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing another song of freedom? Is all I ever have. Redemption songs, redemption songs, redemption songs.
Good morning. Hello there. It's me, Lady Julia, and we're still on the AM Ghana show. Yes, you heard from Na Anyama Collison earlier on with the news there. So I'm happy that I'm alive this morning. It's been a rather tough weekend, and I'm happy that through it all, I am here, alive, well, and kicking. Yes, that shows that my God is alive, and He won't allow me go anywhere. So I'm happy to be doing this with you this Tuesday morning. It is the 23rd of November, and this is the best breakfast show. So we're going to serve you with not just the newspaper headlines, but we are also going to make some discussions into the topical issues, yes, that makes the news headlines today. And as well, we have something from the psychological department coming to you. Yes, we're talking about the social clock. We keep hearing social clock, social clock, social clock everywhere, every day, and it is in fact become something like a pressure on others. We want to enter into it. So yes, for my ladies out there, for my young gentlemen out there, today this is a show you do not want to miss, and I will go for a commercial break. But before I do that, I just want to share just two quotes. Yes, they are connected. The first one is from Mother Teresa. She says, spread love everywhere you go. Spread love everywhere you go. Let no one ever come to you without leaving happier. Spread love everywhere you go. Let no one ever come to you without leaving happier. And the second one, yes, it says that don't judge each day by the harvest that you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. Don't judge each day by the harvests that you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. And I'm connecting that to, that is from Robert Louis Stevenson. Yes, so I'm connecting that to Mother Teresa's quote, and she is saying, make sure that everyone you meet goes a little happier. So these are some of the seeds that Robert Louis is talking about. Plant seeds in people's lives. It's not just about reaping. I know that goes against the social tide we find ourselves in now. But yes, the tough get tougher. And when you are able to make a change in people's lives, it counts really as true happiness and fulfillment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with RwandAir today. RwandAir, the safest airline in Africa.
RwandAir, fly the dream of Africa.
CB will make up now. I'm not correct. Why your best mankasa? That's it. Oh, middle. You captures about one. CB men capsules. Missy CB men capsules and America.
Yeah, you see men and women's capsules now. You knew the data. And 1 year packaging I had a pepper.
Wow! What a packaging! CB men, any CB women capsules, no packaging is out. And you also no mood any biansan wako do pegi.
Share up him for any about town man kwadano for. Any kwadano won you and come home.
Susanna, Ghana man man tamasi.
Adoatv 0247 111671 and 0246 578 750. FDA aje edwedin kato yato.
Back after that short break, and that break was very needed because it brought in Yes, one astute gentleman, yeah, in the political field. He's very, very able, like the Ludu die, to dally around the political, you know, our political reps usually. And he's here with me to do the newspaper headline. So good morning to you, Reginald.
Good morning
Andy.
to you, Julia. Good morning to our cherished viewers. Yes, and I just want to pick a quick one from Bob Marley. There, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but
Other than
ourselves.
ourselves can free our mind.
Thank you very much. None but yourself can free your mind. And she spoke about the social clock aspect. Now, in every society you find yourself, there seems to be what is defined, or what seems to be defined as the proper way of life. And there seems to be what is defined as what you should achieve at a particular age. And so if you're a senior high school girl, or especially a tertiary institution girl, student, let me put it that way, and you don't have an iPhone 11, continuing from there, then you are out of the system. What happens is that you tend to be doing things you are not supposed to do. And this morning, let me say good morning to all the ladies out there who, as a result of money, as a result of pressure, as a result of some form of oppression from their lecturers and other grown-ups in society, are doing things that they are not supposed to do. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery this morning. I wish you strength and fire from Bob Marley. Good morning to you once again. Let's go into it.
That indeed was fire, but you stuck to only one side.
I just want to advocate for the ladies this morning.
Okay. Because we are seeing more serious crimes coming from the youth because of some of these pressures as well. Yeah, so if you haven't gotten that dream job you are looking for, don't, you know, as he was saying, don't dilly-dally around these issues. Just hold on, keep praying, keep doing the little. Remember that before the storms come, it always starts with the little drops first. So just keep at what you are doing, slow paced or whatever, keep at it. You will be rewarded. Kakra. Yeah. Okay, so to the newspaper headlines, I have the truth and accuracy every day. Speaking of the Daily Graphic, Tuesday, November 23, 2021, digital transformation drive, shared responsibility. The digital transformation drive is a shared responsibility. That's coming from the Vice President. And he says that the digital transformation journey embarked on by the government should be a shared vision by all Ghanaians. The Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Baumia, has said. In doing that, he urged the people to lead the conversation on how best the nation could position itself to drive its development agenda through inclusive and collaborative stakeholder participation in the digital innovation ecosystem. So there is more on that story, and as I said earlier, it's on page 16. Again on page 16, the NMC commends graphic group for setting the agenda. So it's there on page 16. I think I'll leave that alone. But the big headline here says 2 in court over MP's immunity. 2 in court over MP's immunity. The vexed issue of immunity granted to members of parliament, MPs, not to appear in a court when performing their official functions has ended up in the Supreme Court, or at the Supreme Court. 2 individuals have invoked the original jurisdiction of the Apex Court to interpret the Constitution with a case that an MP, the clerk, or Speaker of Parliament does not have any immunity if he or she commits an offence while he is on his way to, I'm sure that will be Parliament. Story continued on page 3. 2 on his way to, attending at, or returning from any proceedings of Parliament. So the plaintiffs, Miss Hilda Mansua Pente Dongote, I hope I have that correct, and Mr. Albert Jemfi, who have sued in their capacity as Ghanaians. They have sued in their capacity as Ghanaians, are asking the highest court of the land to interpret Articles 117 and 118 of the 1992 Constitution. Okay, so that says that. For those that are keeping keen interest on what is going on with the National Science and Maths quiz, yes, I was watching some parts of it, I think on Sunday. Yeah, underdogs edge out the big names. Underdogs edge out the big names, and the national Reginald,
I'm waiting.
I don't like this look at all.
I'm waiting. That's a threatening look, and I want you to get there. You will hear from me this morning.
I'm repeating it. And I'm not the one saying it. It's written here. They have. Oh, this is a dog.
I know who is feeding you. I know who is feeding you. So why is she laughing?
Sorry.
There are 475 secondary schools in the country.
Yeah.
Out of these 475, a few made it to the 1/8 stage, moved on to the quarterfinals. Some were taken out. Some are going to the semifinals. Some will go to the finals.
Okay.
Where did St. Francis Xavier Technical School place? You tell me about it.
They didn't even contest.
Very well. So before you try to throw at this adult college, make sure that one, you can fight. Two, make sure that you're a lion, because it was the lions that devoured us. If you're anything less of a lion.
Oh wait, you said it was what?
The lions.
The lions.
Us, yes. The Tamale secondary school.
My
actually.
God.
The guys, and I think Abubakar or the assembly, that guy, kudos to him anyways.
I'm happy finally I heard him say someone else is a liar.
I'd say
emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
Exactly.
None
it's a
other
well-deserving win. It's a well-deserving win, and there is no two ways about it. They have expressed, the will of the people of Tamale. I don't think there's been a time where
the people of Tamale.
Exactly.
I wish you are recording this.
There's not been a time when we've had winners coming from the northern regions, and I think that if Tamale would push further, if they would push harder, I think that they would get it. I just want them to take out Legon Presec. That's all.
Oh,
but it may be a bit impossible. But kudos to all the schools that have made it to this point.
Okay.
It has been a hard and a difficult contest. Like just as the Daily Graphic has put it, what they term underdogs. I'm not happy about that tag, anyways. But what they term as underdogs.
Of course, you are not happy about it.
You should get what I'm saying. They said that underdogs have taken out the big names, and
Yeah.
I'm saying that it shouldn't come out like that.
But what do you want it to come out as?
It depends on how you look at it.
Please requote. Just give
the
them.
Daily Graphic should read.
And underdog does not necessarily mean that you are non-achieving. It just
get the meaning of underdog, then we can talk about
yeah.
that
Underdog
later.
just means that it can just mean that you are infamous. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyways, let's move on.
The Lions.
Yeah. Kudos to all the schools that have made it.
Okay. So I wanted to get the. Okay, I think I'll be fed with that information later. The date for I'm being told now we are at the semi-finals, right? Yes. So I love the smile.
Cape Coast there. And I think the schools in the Ashanti region are also proving.
Yes, it's a Kumasi contest.
It has been a Kumasi contest. We have the KNUS, we have Prempe, we have Opoku-Warrior. Prempe and Opoku-Warrior, they are arch enemies.
Okay, 9 a.m.
Yeah,
okay,
9 a.m. today. So
the
we'll see about the contest today. That's I think it's going to be between St. Peter's, Presec and Chimu,
yes.
secondary. Chimu took out St. Augustine's. Charlie, that's amazing. That's amazing.
St. Augustine's are really doing well.
They are out.
Oh.
They are out. Before you say they are out, it's okay. Let's go on.
Just like okay, Adesadel is all. Oh my goodness. What's happening to Cape Coast? Okay, so the smile of Professor Elsiefa there. I think it matches my smile this morning. Talking about the Adesadel College thing. She's with me on that. Yes. So that's it for the front page. I'm jumping to the middle spread. Religious bodies urged to safeguard national security. Hey, as leaders, we have to accept that without peaceful coexistence, we cannot progress as a nation. We cannot, as a country, take the peace and stability we are enjoying today for granted. So that is going from Mr. Albert Kandapa to religious leaders. Safeguard national security. I think that's a good one. Return mission schools to churches. That's coming from the Presbyterian moderator. Return of mission schools. I think they should. I'm all out for this. Yes. All right. Empower farmers with skills rather than subsidies. Professor Apia Amfo, Professor Nana Abba Apia Amfo, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for the middle spread. Again on so we see Chemu SHS here, we see Keta SHTS, we see Wesley Girls, yes, and then we see Tamale SHS, Tamale all the way. Okay, Presec is here. Presec have always been, but maybe Tamale will do. Maybe Tamale will do me some good. I shouldn't be taking from, you know. Yeah. So OAS is also here.
When you attend the NSMQ, you learn how to pronounce it.
KNUST is also there, and you should know that proper nouns. Okay.
I don't know.
I leave it at that. On the back page, job boost for cocoa growing communities. Job boost for cocoa growing communities. And we see Mr. Ernest Dramina, right, the country manager of Tuton, Ghana, and Mr. Gerald. Hey, these German names. I leave it. Is it German or?
Oh, it's a noun. Don't worry.
Yeah, proper noun. So I leave it at that. Head of program, that's for special initiative on training and job creation. He's there. They are signing some contracts. So job boosts. I always like it when we have positive news like that. Vaccinate against yellow fever and COVID-19. Upper West residents are being entreated. Take advantage of new national titles. GBA boss advices, and we see the titles, yeah, those that were introduced into the boxing field the other time. And hockey, Africa Club Champions Tourney kicks off tomorrow. That will be a wrap up for the daily graphic.
Now let's quickly look at the daily guide here. And speaking about NSMQ, let me say kudos to Odan Secondary School. They also made it to at least the 1A stage. Unfortunately, they couldn't progress from there. Kudos, Odan Secondary Schools in new ways. Now, on the front page of the daily guide here, NPP tackles NDC propaganda games. The story is in there, and there is an ink blot on the paper, so I can't really tell which page. But on page 6, Kokobite robbery, 4 arrested, and we have pictures of these fine gentlemen. And yesterday, commentary about these robbers, many were indicating that no rasta, no dreadlocks, no tattoos, fine-looking gentlemen, and even one guy has a dimple, Charlie. And you're asking, how do you arrest fine gentlemen with dimples?
Sure.
But guess what? These scrupulous persons no longer come with the visible signs that you expect them. They don't come hissing like the snake would. They don't come roaring like lions would. They come silently and they rob you of your belongings. And so be wary. I can remove Akufo-Addo. Backbane brags. The stories on page 3 of the daily guide. I can remove Akufo-Addo, says Speaker of Parliament. Now on the back page of the daily guide, Pochettino pops up as new Man U boss. Now elsewhere, Kotoko and NLA strike bumper deal. Manchester swings with golfers, and Amponsa Lariba win Good Day X Country. And that's it for sports on the back page and the headlines on the front page of the daily guide. Unfortunately, we would be summing the newspaper headlines at this point to make way for the newspaper review segment. Do stay tuned. You're watching AM Ghana. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with Rwandair today. Rwandair, the safest airline in Africa.
Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
Yeah, CB will make up now. I'm not correct. Why your best mankasa?
That's it.
Who anyone? Oh, middle. He captures back on the CB men capsules. You see, CB men capsules in America.
Yeah, you see men and women's capsules now. You knew the data. And 1 year packaging I am the
Wow! What a packaging! CB men, any CB women capsules, no packaging is out. And you also no mood any biansan wako do pegi.
Share up him for any about town man kwadano for. Any kwada won di fie du and come home.
Susanna, Ghana money man tamasi.
Adoatv 0247 111671 and 0246 578 750. FDA aje edwedin kato yato.
Do you know that we have phenomenal influence on our various regulatory bodies? How many of these regulatory bodies do you know within the country? Are you aware you can lodge your complaints if and when you are not satisfied with a product or service? How often do you ask the relevant questions? Whom do you call when things are not rightly done? Connect with me on Regulators on Adoatv as we deliberate on the purpose of these regulatory institutions, their functions, accomplishments, and shortcomings. We ask the back-breaking questions and get the unpolished truth. Be a part of our conversations.
Announcements on Adoatv. Contact Adoatv for your general announcements, proclamations and publications, job vacancies, etc. at a very affordable rate. Call 050-92-57754, 020-9494-258, or visit our marketing desk at Stepwork premises. Adoatv, bringing good things to life.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with Rwandair today. Rwandair, the safest airline in Africa.
Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
Well, many thanks to you for staying with us. In case you just joined us, you're watching AM Ghana here on Adoatv Television. My name is Reginald Adi, and I've just been with Juliana Ejoma to give you the newspaper headlines. Unfortunately, we couldn't go through all of them to make way for the newspaper review segment. And today on the newspaper review segment, we'll be looking into matters of missing ammunitions in police custody. I'll also be looking at the construction or the proposed construction of offices for members of parliaments across the several constituencies we have in the country. I'm here with my political reps. We'll be looking into that. But as a matter of security, let's quickly go on to the phone lines to speak to Mr. Richard Kumado, the security expert, on the missing 5 AK-47 ammunitions, AK-47 rifles and 100 rounds of ammunition. Now, it is stated that 5 AK-47 rifles and 100 rounds of ammunition are actually missing from the armory of the Tamale police station. This is according to the Auditor General's report that came in some weeks ago. Now, it says that the non-existence of the arms in the ammunitions were discovered by the auditor when he inspected the armory. Now, it is indicated that these arms and ammunitions were part of those that were put in the fight against Galamsey, and also in the Operation Calm Life. It says that after the Operation Calm Life, these arms and ammunitions have not been returned to the armory. Now, the armorer also indicated that the matter had been forwarded to the Northern Regional CID of the Ghana Police Service. However, the CID of the Ghana Police Service in Tamale could not provide the auditor with any comprehensive report on the missing ammunitions and rifles. This is a serious security concern because these are arms and ammunitions that the taxpayers' money has been used to buy in order to protect the lives of the citizenry. Now, we established Operation Calm Life, and the guns, the ammunitions have not been returned. We want to find out what this could mean in terms of the provision and implementation of security in the country. We have Mr. Richard Kumado on the line to speak to. Mr. Kumado, good morning and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Kumado, if the Ghana Police Service at any point for well over 2 years cannot account for arms and ammunitions that is supposed to be in their armory, what could this mean in terms of the provision of security in a security institution?
Oh, considering the fact that Tamale has been a hotspot, and also, according to the report, there are indications that they know who the arms has, the particular guns has been assigned to. I think 2 years for not finding where they are and not taking an action to retrieve them is a little bit weird. But we don't also know what the internal processes are and what the police have done about it so far until the auditor's report points it out. So it will be important to find out what they have actually done about it. Otherwise, it's a straightforward exercise. We know who has the guns, who went out with the guns. The handing over and the taking over notes should have pointed out what really happened. And finding out to retrieve them should not take a bit more than 2 years.
All right. Well, Mr. Kumado, now the Ghana Police Service in Tamale indicated that they had sent a report to the regional CID. However, as of the time of the audit, the regional CID could not provide the auditor with any information. This could also mean that it may not necessarily be a straightforward issue as to we know who we gave the guns to, and so we should look for those persons and they return it. This could be beyond as it appears. Should we be worried?
Yeah, definitely. Level of accountability, responsibility in terms of the way the police work. If we consider the fact that these are external auditors, then they might have some hesitations providing them with the relevant information they want. But it will be important to speak to the police themselves who are in the center of this. Otherwise, guns and ammunition in the hands of illegitimate people cause for worry, considering the fact that the small arms has been struggling to control guns movement in this country. Our processes and due diligence processes of acquiring guns and renewing licenses will need to be watched again, and it has been a major issue for us. So even if you have one gun in the hands of a wrong person, you are worried, especially when it's coming from the police. And you remember that at the backdrop of the fact that the police integrity has been watched by some other people, claiming that the police has been compromised or they are the accomplices in giving their guns to people. That is why there's a responsibility on the police to make sure that this particular issue is dealt with as quickly as possible.
Indeed, it's a matter of accountability. This is not the first time that we've heard about guns and ammunition being missing. Somewhere a year or two ago, we heard that a whole police station had been robbed by, robbers, or had been broken into just around Nima. Now, in the newspapers today, we are seeing that some three arrested suspects have escaped from police custody. Now, this is just a few to mention among certain things that happen within the policing sphere that seems to beat the mind of the ordinary. What this amounts to, the infiltration of the police service by persons who are not qualified to be in there, manning certain positions such that they don't appear to be up on their tasks.
No, definitely the police recruitment process is a problem and it's a major one. Police welfare is also a major one. 21st police practices is also a major one we need to look at. I think with this new IGP and the strategies they have put in place, if they pursue in that direction, they might be able to do something positive about it. Otherwise, the police have issues and they are working at it. And I think it would be appropriate they look at some of these issues that are coming into the public forum, that they could take care of them appropriately, precisely in a manner that projects professionalism and objectivity of the work of the police officer.
Well, what would you make of internal policing? I mean, policing within the police sector in itself. Just as we have a military police that sees to, policing of the military, do you think there should be, apart from auditing, some form of policing within the Ghana Police Service, apart from, higher ranks that see to oversee the lower ranks?
No, definitely. Security institutions have a way of double-checking themselves. And this particular audit report was done by the Auditor General and not the police.
Yes.
But I'm very sure that this particular issue of missing guns and ammunition would have gone through the process within the police service. And that is why it's important we have a word from the police. But otherwise, all the security institutions have a way of double-checking themselves. Their punitive action and their sanctioning regime for misconduct and for bad behavior, as much as they are reward schemes for people who did well. Unfortunately, those things do not come into the public domain as people will want it. So they might not need a police policing, but there are channels of addressing grievances and some infractions and discrepancies that might occur in the course of duty within the police service and some of the other security agencies, not just in Ghana but across the globe.
Well, Mr. Komado, now if you look at most of our police stations, you realize that these are buildings that have stayed over a long period of time. And to some extent, when you look at the escape, the jailbreak in Sugakope, for instance, these inmates created a hole that they were able to escape from. Is it due the time that the attention that is paid to the military by the presidency, the construction of barracks and other buildings for them, be paid to the Ghana Police Service as well? Perhaps a revamp of the buildings and structures of the Ghana Police Service?
It's not just that, but you remember that some of the police stations are even in the kiosks or they are in containers. And so that's what I spoke about police welfare. Once the working environment is bad and it does not promote productivity, people get to be demotivated and the tendency of not being alert is high. It is high time we look at it again, not just the police. Go to the prisons and see. Go to fire service and see. Even go to the secret service, the BNI, and look at what goes on. Welfare, not just where they work, but where they stay. Even if we say they are not going to stay in barracks, are we willing to pay them a reasonable amount of money so that they could rent places for themselves? I think we need to look at it again as a nation. Even the military is struggling with accommodation. Sometimes we borrow money in the name of building houses for them. It will be important to find out whether those houses have been built to specification or did they even exist in the first place. Although some houses have been built around Tema, which look a little bit nice and credible, but we need to look at it again. Housing and the stations themselves is something I personally have been speaking about for a very long time. And once you are bringing it up as a media guru, I think probably they might listen to you and take steps to do something about it. Otherwise, it's not the right thing. This is a poor. It doesn't dignify them and the work they do. And we must do something about it.
Very well. Now, finally, as a security aspect, I want to find out from you. It's been a while that the current IGP was put in place as IGP. What do you make of his performance so far? Many are saying that he's only, arresting some of these media, these celebrities, if you want to put it, for fame for himself, amongst other things. What do you make of it?
Who set the performance criteria for him, and who are they to judge him based on their own key performance indicators? Police and law enforcement is a continuous exercise. He knows what took away his predecessor. I think he's doing some work in the area of fighting crime. He has made some arrests, or the police service has made some arrests at critical times. Some people are in court. I think in general, some work has been done. Let's allow him to continue. And when he doesn't do well, people are definitely going to talk about it. But in spite of those ones, I think we need to create a conducive environment for policing and not personalities. And once we begin to look at personalities and not the policies or the principles, we might be getting it wrong. But I think some work has been done. And where he did well, let's say he has done well. Where he didn't do well, let's say he needs to improve. You remember they have a problem with Sosu in the nature of the arrest and the hulabalu about whether they want to arrest him or not. Then the Medeka and the Satawale issue, and there was the pasta issue, and there were some other things they have done. I think some work has been done.
Well, very well. Thank you very much, Mr. Richard Kumado.
You're welcome.
Right, your submissions are always essential to understanding and analysis. I believe that our viewers have also benefited from this conversation. That was Mr. Richard Kumado. He's a fraud and security analyst, and he shared his thoughts and his views about the missing 5 AK-47s and 100 rounds of ammunition from a police institution in Tamale, from the Tamale Police Service, and also spoken on the nature of the edifices that we have for our Ghana policemen. They talk about the barracks, they talk about the prisons, you talk about the cells, the police stations, and what have you, indicating that we, as a have police stations in containers and kiosks. It's quite sad. But if the IGP operate and criticize him constructively where he's wrong, let's express our displeasure and also be reminded that he has done some more. Mr. Kumado have indicated. Well, I have with me reps from the 2 political parties in the country. We have Mr. Evans here, is representing the New Patriotic Party, and Mr. Ajokache, who represents the NDC. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to AM Ghana. How are you doing? Let's start with Mr. Evans. I'm here. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. I think it's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while.
I stepped a foot here.
Exactly.
And then I just had a call that I had to step in for brother. Of course, we've been friends. As for Adoatv, we've been friends together with the viewers and the crew.
Right.
Let me commend you and say you're doing a good job.
Right. Thank you.
I mean, that's how it should be.
Thank you.
I just pray that in the next few years, you also be at the top.
Definitely.
So yes, I'm good.
All right, Evans is good and he wishes us the best. Mr. Jokache, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Fine.
Well, you just fine.
Um,
I'm happy. I'm happy
all
that
is well.
I'm happy that you are fine because usually.
Maybe you don't want me to go to the other extent.
Oh no, I'm happy. I'm fine that you are fine. So let's hold it.
How will he know where you are going? I mean,
he knows where I can go.
You know, he has a usual way of introducing himself. Okay. He's never fine, but today, thankfully,
and he's a smart guy. I mean, interviewed us for.
You know, he has been a friend.
Well, I mean, we keep profiles of everyone. I know how Mr. Ami here will come. I know how you will come in as well. Now, I just spoke to Mr. Richard Kumado.
Yes.
On the matter of security. One thing he indicates, I'm not going to ask you why ammunitions and whatnot were lost, whatever, because I mean you are not security experts, even though you are abreast with security in the country. I want us to go straight on those concerns about you speak. How do people, that are assigned certain state infrastructure, these AK-47 and 100 rounds of ammunition, they are state infrastructure. They are not for any individual, but they are assigned individuals who are playing or embarking on the role of the Ghana Police Service for the interest of the nation. However, for over 2 years, they don't return these ammunition. Now, this comes to accountability, a matter of accountability. And in the many areas that the IGP has done so much, in terms of some arrests and instilling discipline in some areas, it appears that internally, that is behind what we see, there are some administrative matters in there. Should we be concerned, Evans?
Reggie, to say I'm disappointed in the whole report is just an understatement.
Right.
First of all, this is a security issue. And then I thought the security officers in there could have done a very good job. For what I know, when anybody is given a weapon or a gun, I think after your hours of duty, you come back and render account as to the number of bullets you were given, and then how many of them
you returned.
You returned, including all other armory. But it came as a shocking to me that the police service in itself will just sit and look on with all these discrepancies. How could that be? Yes, we know in every human institution there are certain elements that want to at all times, take a swipe or be smart. But then also, whose job it is to monitor and evaluate all these activities or the up and down movement of all these guns? For taking the Auditor General to come out as such, I think the police should be up and doing. If such weapons should, get in the hand of armed robbers, I'm not too sure. Again, what I think the police should do is that, aside all these body checks and the training and all that, do they look at the psychological aspects of all these, personnel, as to whether, they can handle a weapon at a time, because you all have such crisis sometimes. Yes, you may not be
whether they can handle a weapon. I think that it's part of their training.
Yes.
Handling, yes.
But what I'm saying is that the behavioral patterns.
Oh, you mean that over time,
sometimes
they need in-service retraining. Right.
Not even that. Sometimes as a human, you might be in a certain mood. You see, you have some mood swings, and that I think those things should be checked.
Right.
Yes, you might be assigned to duty to go maybe to protect a bank or other properties, but then is the police able to check whether at that particular moment, even though your name is on a roster, are you in a sound mind to, as it were, perform that duty to the best, or to the best result that we can all achieve? Like any other institution, sometimes judges are even made to give pronouncement, judgment, ruling based on the behavioral pattern on that particular day.
Right.
If he's not happy, of course, that unhappiness gravitates towards the kind of judgment that he will make, and it's normal. So when you are given a duty and a security personnel to handle weapons, so that you don't fire indiscriminately, you don't put your gun at a certain point that people should not even have access. If you're able to check all these things, I think yes, you can be assigned. But looking at your demeanor, looking at what is happening around you, you can as well be changed or substituted.
Right.
So that at least. But for what I'm hearing, it's very scary.
Yeah.
Very scary, because if care is not taken, then of course a time will come that we may not even find a rocket or a bomb or a powerful ammunition in the armory, and you find yourself, if they are able to get into the masses, and somebody with a mental kind of a problem is able to get it, then
sporadic firing, imminent.
So they should be up and doing, and then I'm not too sure whether they themselves made that report to the Auditor General for him to publicize it, or
well, certainly an auditor goes in there to audit, and he will find out what is not in place,
so
and what
the
is
question then comes
in the
back
wrong
to
place.
us. Whose job was it, and was he not aware? For how long has this guns gone missing? So there are certain questions that we need to ask, and then find those who were in charge but could not perform their duty so creditably, so that the law can always be on their neck.
Certainly, I think that our producers should try and get us in contact with the Ghana Police Service, maybe the PRO or whoever, so that we can have a conversation. We want to understand what the procedure is, especially about handling guns and ammunition, because it's in a public space that certainly there is accountability. Whoever is assigned some gun and ammunition must return it by the end of the day, or by the end of an assignment. Now, if by the end of an assignment, even I'll come back to you. If by the end of an assignment, then I think we shouldn't worry, because there is still Operation Calm Life going on one way or the other. Right, and so if it's stated in the report that these guns were given to this police personnel, in the wake of Operation Calm Life, all right, and they have not returned it since. Now, Operation Calm Life is an assignment. What are the procedures in Operation Calm Life? Must they take the guns and ammunition home? Because certainly they go around parading in the mornings and even in the evenings as well. But I don't believe that an individual parades from morning to evening. He hands over at a time, which means that these ammunitions and guns must be handed over for whoever picks up to also indicate. Mr. Ajokate, what is your thoughts on this one? You were so much agreeing with Evans, and certainly we can't play politics with this.
No. With issues of security, I'm sure that if fire goes into his house, and I also have petrol in my house and I'm closer to his house, I should be,
you should be worried.
But to me,
but do you have petrol? We'll talk about that later.
I'm afraid. If you ask me my thought, it is scary, and I am afraid personally, because the only hope we have is the security forces apart from God. If we should have any form of chaos that is beyond ordinary quarrel, it is the police and the military that we will count on to defend us. Now, these guns, before they even move from the main warehouse to the Tamale warehouse, from the import station to the Tamale side, they have license numbers and all those things.
Yes.
If the guns are in the armory, before you release them with numbers.
Serial numbers.
Serial numbers. So the one who release those guns at a particular time is known to the police. They can't tell us they don't know that person.
Certain.
Then that is what? Incompetence. And if incompetence is beginning to, run around the police, what I would recommend is from the warehouse, the armory, the police officers who took the guns and have not returned it, they should all be arrested as we are sitting here. Because that is a threat to national security. There is nothing more than a threat than what we are seeing now. So I don't expect even auditor to go to the extent of auditing before we will even know that this is what is happening. The police have internal auditors. What is their work? They have internal auditors. And as I speak to you, the internal auditors have not produced any document as such. This news has been in the system for some time now. If truly they had conducted their internal auditing, then they should be able to come out to probably give a response to this. Until now, they have not given us even any hope. The hope they'll give us would have come out of their internal auditing, or probably a news that will be released from the Ghana Police Service. So that will be, calm a little bit. But as I speak to you now, my family is in the Tamale side, and even myself in Accra, I'm worried. I'm scared. Recently, you would agree with me that any time they arrest armed robbers, these AK-47s and rifles are found on them. Who are the main importers of this AK-47? You get it? Mostly, it is the security personnel. There is no place in Ghana that will license a household or individual to use AK-47. Exactly. I know we only license pistols and shotguns. But we find, or sometimes we see these guns on these robbers. It started not today, probably 1992 till now. We have not conducted any research as a nation into how come these guns are getting into the hands of these guys. We have not conducted. So on that side, and as a nation, we have failed. We need to accept that. We have failed. And we should be able to go back, sit around the table and begin to think now that, okay, AK-47 that is meant for the police, or let's say the security service, has found its way into the room of a civilian. Let us begin to, research or investigate and see the way it found itself in that direction. We have not done that. So I will recommend to the Ghana Police Service and the IGP to quickly look at that side. Number two, if you look at the fight against these killings, robbery, especially the highway robbery, the same statement to repeat itself. AK-47 are part of the ammunitions that are always retrieved. If the police release a press that they have, arrived at, let me say, haven of criminals, there is no one particular arrest that is made at a place of criminal havens that AK-47 has not been located or AK-47 has not been found there. We've not asked questions.
Well, so sometimes they come out with reports, findings that some of these guns are imported from neighboring countries.
Yes, I'll come to the import. But my problem here is that when you get these guns and you come to tell us as a nation that we found 2 AK-47, 3 AK-47, after that, you do not come out to tell us that this is where these guns came from, because they have serial numbers and we can track them.
Well, sometimes for security reasons, they cannot broadcast every finding, especially if they are still looking into them and trying to get to the bottom of it. They perhaps what we can say is that maybe they have not really gotten to the bottom of it to indeed come out to tell us that, okay, we've gotten to the bottom of this one. We know where it came from.
Yes.
Perhaps that is the
my
worry.
problem is that if you come out to tell us that this gun is imported from France, a gun that we found with an armed robber is imported from France, how is that a security threat to the nation? It's not a security threat. We have to expose. Okay,
it certainly is a security threat.
No, I belong to.
It tells you how porous
the maritime industry. Let me give you this.
Become.
Yes, that's what I want to say.
The kind of trade items between these countries that may have imported and exported the guns and ammunition.
So what I want to conclude is that when you release these items, if the gun passes through Tema Port, that means there is something wrong there. If it passes through the airport, it means something is wrong there. Then we begin to look at all these channels and close it. Look, when it comes to guns, my brother, until we close the last hole, we have not solved the problem.
Right.
We have not solved the problem.
Right.
So I would once again advise the IGP that yes, his work with the celebrities fantastic. On the other hand, robbery is increasing. We are seeing AK-47 with them. Killing is increasing. We are seeing AK-47 with them. He has to come down to the grounds.
All right.
He has to.
Right. The IGP has to come down to the grounds. Now, let's move away from these guns and ammunition issue with the Ghana Police Service, but let's stay a bit on Ghana Police Service.
Okay.
In Sugakope, 3 fugitives that were arrested escaped police custody. This is not the first time. And for guns and ammunition not finding their ways back into the armories, this is just one of those indications of a porous security or policing system. How can you arrest and then they will be under your... Look, so the human beings there, fine, they have legs, but we have other objects and items that go into police custody and then they mysteriously vanish. Now, I spoke to Mr. Kumado about the infrastructure for the Ghana Police Service. This government has done so well, in terms of provision of infrastructure. Some infrastructure like vehicles. And recently we heard about a proposal for buses to be picking up the policemen. Now, that is some infrastructure. But we look at, after busing them, where do they sleep? After busing them to the workplaces, what is the state and nature of that work environment that they stay in? Now, if you study human resource for some time, it tells you that the environment in itself affects productivity. Now, maybe this productivity is a clear indication of the kind of environment that we have for the Ghana Police Service. They are in kiosks, some are in containers, some are in very, very, very old structures. And even the new structures, we can't call them new anymore because they've stayed for a very long time. They are not being painted. You go there, you will see for yourself. What do you have to say about this? With all the provision of infrastructure, they are still escaping. The fugitives are still escaping.
Reggie, I think there is a certain veil that we need to block or
pierce.
Sometimes because the discussion has been centered on an issue of because it's a national security issue. So certain aspects of detailed report are covered up. If we are able to, at least the punitive measures that are laid down are well known and well orchestrated to the fact that the layman walking along the Oxford Street will know that if a military man carelessly loses a gun, or if a policeman robs, this is what must be happening to him or her. Then we all will come to agreement or know that these are some of the things as corresponding to the issue where when somebody murders or issues a threat. These are some of the punitive or measures that will be. I mean, we'll all be abreast and then take ourselves back, rethink, so that whatever we want to do, we'll know exactly what the measures are. You see, the issue that happened at Sogakope, honestly, in as much as we want to make sure that we elevate the infrastructure, burden of the police and then the other security services. I mean, this is a sheer, carelessness of those in charge. For somebody to dig, deep down and escape. So, do they even have monitors? Do they even monitor at all? How often? For me, if you ask me, I'll say it is an issue of connivance.
You think so?
Yes, because it has been happening. Go to the Nsawam Medium Prison, for instance. Before a visitor will check in, they do a number of checks or conduct a number of checks on the person. Whether you are holding, a metal, whether you are holding something, a substance, that's,
objects, whatever.
So, if indeed you find a sharp object in the cell, then whose job it is? Who allowed it? How was the search conducted? And what was the the transition? What discussion went on? And there has been instances where the prison officers themselves have been selling Indian hams to inmates. So, I mean, how on earth would the police, sit aloof and then allow such happenings, to be in the public domain? That inmates will just be digging. What kind of instrument?
What did they use?
What did they use?
I understand that they drilled a hole.
I mean, this you can't understand why some of these things will be happening.
So you believe that this goes beyond the infrastructure?
Exactly. So, Reggie, if I'm even confined in a kiosk, there are certain things that I should do for me to live and live well, regardless of the size. That is my abode.
Right.
That is what I have now. So what I need to do is to jealously guide it, protect it, and then make sure that whatever activity that happens within the confines of that kiosk remain intact. You are a policeman. You are assigned to protect, an inmate, and you see, we don't just throw them there because of the sake of it. Either to refine them, either to rehabilitate, either to punish them. So if you become that careless and then allow them to escape, what happens to the next door neighbor person? You see, I think we should go beyond the issue of infrastructure.
Okay.
And then look at the kind of businesses that those in charge are doing in the inmates.
This is why I asked about policing of the police service. Mr. Jogache, do you think that per the submissions from Mr. Mihir, we should have policing for the police service? Indeed, they have their own ways of checks and balances and all that. But when you look at the entire work frame, I mean, you realize that we have issues with that. We have guns and ammunition not finding their way back, finding finding them in the hands of some unscrupulous persons. We have fugitives escaping police custody. We have items getting missing, and not just ammunition, but some confiscated items getting missing from police service, and a whole lot. Do you think that we should have that policing in there? Because certainly they are not doing well with auditing as well.
Sure. I don't know. Maybe because of topics, most of the times, Evans and I, we used to agree. And
we'll see about the next topic as well.
Oh no, most of the time my friend communicators always say that this Evans guy, is he your brother that anytime you guys meet, it's like you agree on Mr. Reginald, this is serious than we are seeing. This is serious than we are seeing. In fact, auditing in the police service, as I said earlier on, is very, very important. Auditing not only in the police but security services is very, very important. The same way we have group of persons in ministries that are quick to take bribe. It is the same human beings that we have in the security services that they are also quick to take bribe. So if we are able to find system to fight this bribery and corruption in civil organizations, then the same thing should be playing in the security services. I know Ghana.
These are people that receive training.
Yes,
they receive some level of training that is higher above
when
the ordinary.
We have lecturers that have gone through school. Some of them went through teacher training colleges, but sometimes they misbehave. So it's not about the training.
I see.
You can give training to someone, but that does not mean you will not regulate the person.
Okay.
We are human. So with policing in the police is very important. Very, very important. Practical of it. There was a time that we were in town, and all of a sudden, one of my friends had problem with another guy. Not knowing that guy has, he's a police officer, and he has a lot of other police officers around. So when just a phone call, my brother, you will think that there is war around my house. So we're like, so if you are calling police people because they are your friends, who do we call to curb them?
Okay.
Because we are
they
citizens.
Came in their own accord.
In their own accord, not from the Ghana Police Service. So at that time, there should be a unit in the police service that civilians should be aware of, who will pick phone and call that number. Then they will come to curb the situation.
Right.
But do we have that? Maybe you can advise me. I don't know.
I sincerely do not know, which is why I'm asking.
That is why I'm saying that if we don't have those policing systems, it will not work. When it comes to these guns, imagine that within the police where there is policing, and in the policing department of the police, there is a unit that is responsible for policing ammunition. And they know that the only way why I am assigned is to police ammunition. Even though the ammunition is with you, I am the one policing that ammunition. That is his job.
Right.
But this one, the one who assigns the ammunition is the only person that police the ammunition again. And only me sitting in the police office and I'm assigning more than 300 ammunitions at the same time. How do I monitor and be careful of all these things? It is just a logbook that they put there.
Yes.
You go, you write your name, you take your gun, you go, come. They don't even audit that book. They don't even check that book. So you could see that there's a growing incompetence. There is a growing failure in the police service. The problem we have in this country is that when it comes to police, military, the security, we are so much careful and we pamper them a lot that, it's an issue of security, so don't go too much hard on them. That is why we have gotten to where we are.
Right.
So it is not an issue that because they are military or this. No, if you are wrong, you are wrong.
Exactly.
So in this case, the Ghana Police Service is wrong. From IGP to the last person there.
What did the IGP do?
But what did he do in the arrest of these people before we hail him? Was he the one who arrested Chatawale? Was he the one who went to the road to arrest Medica?
Okay.
Was he the one that went to the church to arrest this? So every good thing that happens in the police will be credited to him, and every bad thing should also be given to him.
Right.
So he and his boys have failed us on this particular one.
All right.
That the whole armory. I don't know whether they break into it.
No. The report says that it was assigned.
No, that is a report because looking at the amount of ammunition that
the rounds.
Yes.
Let's say five.
Another thing that the report. Another thing that the report is not clear.
So
on.
for each round, maybe 20.
Yes.
For each AK for 20 rounds of 20 rounds too.
Yes, but one thing that the report is not clear
briefly
on,
sum up in a minute.
Yes, one thing that the report is not clear on is whether it has been consecutively or it is just at a go.
Okay.
That is what the report is not clear on. So probably this thing might have been happening over time. If it is true that it is happening over time, that they have failed until this level that the auditor is the one, an outsider, a civilian organization. You come into the, the security service to tell you that your guns are missing and where are these guns? Don't you think we have problem?
I think that there certainly is a problem in the for a civilian to actually audit to find out these discrepancies in a security system. We were thinking that the security system would rather, cause these checks and balances on the civilians. It's quite unfortunate, but this is what it is. And we've heard from Mr. Evans Ami here, who speaks for the NPP, and Mr. McLean Adjokete, who speaks for the NDC. You're watching AM Ghana. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go nowhere.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with RwandAir today. RwandAir, the safest airline in Africa.
RwandAir, fly the dream of Africa.
CB women capsules now. I'm correct. Why your best mankasa?
That's it.
Who anyone? Oh, middle. You capsules back on CB men capsules. Ah, you right here. Me see CB men capsules in America.
Yeah, you see men and women's capsules now. You knew the data. And one year packaging I had the
wow! What a packaging! CB men, any CB women capsules, no packaging is out. And you also no mood any biansan wako do pegi.
Share a painful any about town man kwada no for. Any kwada won di fie du en ka ho.
Susanna. Ghana man be man tamase.
Dodo Afre 0247 111671 and 0246 578 750. FDA
Do you know that we have phenomenal influence on our various regulatory bodies? How many of these regulatory bodies do you know within the country? Are you aware you can lodge your complaints if and when you are not satisfied with a product or service? How often do you ask the relevant questions? Whom do you call when things are not rightly done? Connect with me on Regulators on Adoatv as we deliberate on the purpose of these regulatory institutions, their functions, accomplishments, and shortcomings. We ask the back-breaking questions and get the unpolished truth. Be a part of our conversations.
Announcements on Adoatv. Contact Adoatv for your general announcements, proclamations and publications, job vacancies, etc. at a very affordable rate. Call 050-92-57754, 020-9494-258, or visit our marketing desk at Stepwork premises. Adoatv, bringing good things to life.
Water, but when I get your map, and then so I bet order. You are fired.
malaria nti aba yi waye juma bono malaria defo ya o enti awo ahire ne customers ni wahu ne se maami aye smart apa sibi malakio amma ne ba ya odi ko school she se aduane si berry market chi ani malaria nti a ontimi ni onia ensna ho ema we mu biara to wo so we malaria test na bi wo mu a edra bedi wa ene sibi malakio ye dinu na ne hahama na akeka bom asone so aye sibi malakio edra wo so de enya nyonkra o aye tata she
edra yi nyema apemfo abata ya wo ma wo manufo ene nkwada wo ni mfie dumie
Suziana, what would you weekend?
FD ahwehwe saa ejadie nkrato yi mu agye atomu se enye.
Oh, thank you for staying tuned. It's finally time for the moment I know that you've been sitting down and waiting for. Yes, we are going to discuss what the social clock is and how it affects you and I. Social clock, social clock, social clock. So, yes, you do want to know what social clock is, and we do have one fine and wonderful gentleman on. Yes, we're going to do this discussion online. He's going to speak. You won't see him in person, but you will hear his voice. So I'm going to pose most of the questions I can that I have to him. But if you have any questions, do well to send them within our time frame. If I'm able to see it and catch it, I'll do well to send it over to him, to ask him your questions. But do stay tuned. There is more. He is on the line. He is on the line with us. I'm talking about a medical doctor and a clinical health psychologist, Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur. Yes, he is a psychologist and he's also a medical doctor. So I know that he is well poised for this particular topic, and you do want to hear from him. Good morning, Dr. Arthur.
Good morning. Good to talk to you this morning.
I'm also so pleased to have a psychologist who is also a medical doctor speak with us on this issue. The topic, I mean, it does resonate with a lot of us. You know, that there are, even though we do not maybe name it a social clock, I know that we have it. It's something that really disturbs the youth, be it female or the males in this country. So without much ado, I would like you to explain what the social clock is so that our viewers will understand exactly what we are talking about, Doctor.
Generally, social clock simply is societal expectations about when and how things must happen to people in society as they grow older. Okay. And so, for example, society has a certain timing or a certain period they expect people to marry, or a certain age they expect people to marry. They expect people to give birth. They expect people to go to school. They expect people to work, based on what the society thinks is ideal and what the society, expects of individuals in a certain society. So basically, that is what it is. And generally, when you live in a society has an influence on how your life actually becomes. So depending on which society you are, the social clock, thing will be different. So when you go to US, it's different. When you go to Europe, it's different. When you go to some Asian countries, it's different, based on societal expectations and all that. So basically, that's it.
All right. So even right here in Ghana, would it differ as well, or would we just have one general social clock for Ghanaians?
Yeah, I think it depends on even which society you are in Ghana. Ghana, we have different tribes.
Yes.
And different regions, and every region and every tribe and what the expectations are. But in Ghana, things may be similar as compared to US or Europe or Asia or some of the Arab countries. It will be slightly different. But even in Ghana, depending on where you are, it will also be a little different, but generally it may be the same, throughout the country.
Okay, so we are looking at social clock, or what the society has defined for us as being part of the society. There are expectations towards you as a member of, or me as a member of the society. So would we say that the expectations on the social clock for women or for ladies or for the female will differ from that it has for the male? And if there are, if we can just touch on some few ones to make it more
yes.
Yeah.
So there's some differences. Society expects different things from men and different things from women. But I want to say that, most of societal expectations and norms is based on a certain history or based on even our biological clock. When we say biological clock, we also mean, how as people age, there are changes in their body and how their body functions. So even for us, even for biological issues, you realize that there's timing. For example, if you're a female, we expect that at a certain age, you should be able to have your menses. At a certain age, pregnancy becomes easier. At a certain age, you can't get pregnant, especially if you're a woman. In the moment you cross 35, you are going downward with your biological clock when it comes to reproduction. And menopause will come in and stuff like that. As you also age, andropause changes, and stuff like that, in how you're able to function. So biologically, there's also some determination as to how things should unfold, which you really don't have control. And when it's time to menstruate, you can't control whether you menstruate or not.
Okay. Yeah.
If you don't give birth at a certain age, your body is not waiting for you to decide on when you want to give birth. At some point, the body will start packing. So some of the societal expectations is also based on knowledge about biological things and society, how things progress in society. Even when it comes to influence, at a certain age, your influence goes down. See, the moment you cross 40, you are coming down. So if you look at everybody as influence, from 25 up to age 40, 50, thereabout, your influence starts, going down from age 40, 50. Such that even when you want to talk to people, they won't even listen. Because it's like, wapaho. Something like that. So even when it comes to societal, influences, it's not just societal expectations for expectation's sake, but based on a certain considerations about how people age, what they can do and what they cannot do. At a certain age, you can't take care of kids. It becomes difficult. At a certain age, you cannot actually, give birth. At a certain age, you can't even work. Because the moment you cross 50, even your strength will be enough to be going to work every time. So we may even retire you at age 60. So when society is putting pressure on you to do certain things, sometimes it's based on a certain history. And depending on whether you are male and female, those expectations are different just because of biological changes and also how you can function well in a certain society. So social clock itself and societal expectations is not entirely bad.
Okay.
But when the pressure becomes too much such that it is affecting the individuals in the society negatively, then we would have to actually relook at our expectations of them.
Okay.
Because at a certain age, some things become difficult and some things become more important. Let me give an example. Let's say you are young, maybe in your late 20s, early 30s. And for example, you are female. And marriage is not on your list. Or child bearing is not on your list. You don't have time. So when society expects you to marry at a certain age, it's based on the fact that you don't have time.
Okay.
You can't give birth after a certain age. So the more you delay, the more difficult. Even when it comes to childbirth, the moment you cross 35, then complications of giving birth as a woman goes up.
Okay.
You know, with hormonal problems, genetic problems, you know, with what do you call it, maternal deaths and mortality and complications. It actually goes up after 35. You understand? So
yes,
if society expects you to marry earlier and give birth earlier, you know, it's based on certain things. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I do, doctor.
So it's not entirely bad. But if you have been doing everything you have to do, you want to marry, but you know, what do you call it? The spouse is not coming. You know, you want to give birth, but you know, it's not working out because you try, children are not coming. Then it's different. But if because of some personal goals and aspirations, you know, you are not paying attention to those things, and they are putting pressure on you, there's a reason behind the pressure. You know, because a lot of people haven't even thought about it. Let's give an example. Personally, I advise couples, people who are married, that if you want to give birth, don't delay. You know, maybe you are married, you are in the, 28, 29, 26, thereabout, and you are married, and you want to have kids, but you say, no, you don't want to have it now, you want to have it later. It's not wise. Because, you see, when you start trying early, and the child is not coming, then you have time to actually deal with the problem. And I hope you understand, because some couples marry and giving birth delays. But if you don't try giving birth and you wait till you are 35 and you start giving birth and you realize that no, there was a problem. You have about 2-3 years to fix that problem. By that time you are 30, 39, 40. You get the point?
Yes. I do.
So sometimes there is wisdom in societal, you know, expectations. Not just for the pressure sake. Not just for the pressure sake, but for the fact that, you know, you are aging. And as you age, there are certain things you can't do. So if some things are on your list, so that you won't have problems later on. You get the point? But when the person doesn't want it, and you are putting pressure on them, then it becomes problematic. Especially the pressure is actually making things difficult for them.
So that's the side I wanted to jump on right next, because it's like you're standing on my right shoulder now. So let's jump to the other shoulder, the left side, where some of these expectations of society rather has an adverse effect on the individual or on some individuals within the society. I'm taking an example from where I was trying to do a little, you know, reading into it, and I was looking at other countries where at first, in the olden days, they're expecting the young man out there, maybe by the age of 20, they're expecting you to be looking smart, doing, you know, you should have already been somewhere when it comes to the social climb, that ladder. You should have already been somewhere, attained something, achieved something, and things don't make it that easy, and you are not. I want us to talk about the social adverse effect it has on the individual and on the society as well. If you can help me with that.
Yes, and so it puts undue stress on the person, you know, and so the person would have to actually be very, very uncomfortable trying to make it, you know, and so stress in actually meeting expectations can actually force people to do the things they are not supposed to do. Some people may even go into some social vices just because of that. For example, you're expecting the person to work to have this and that at this time, and they actually are trying, but it's not working, you know, or they don't have what it takes to do it. They may join groups, they may become, you know, armed robbers, they may do all kinds of dubious things, you know, all kinds of crime-related problems, just to be able to meet up societal expectations. And that comes back to haunt the society. You know, some people are under pressure to give birth, you know, and for some reason, maybe no man is coming or something is happening. They may decide, okay, let me just have sex with anybody and have kids so that they can leave me alone. You know, so I mean,
Yes, I'm
it
getting.
actually puts pressure on people to actually do things that will come back to harm society or make them actually regret later on. It puts them in an unnecessary anxiety and panic and fear. You know, anytime you are walking around, you are thinking, people thinking this way about me. Anytime you are going to your family home, you are wondering what they are going to say or what they are thinking. You know, and if, for example, when it comes to childbirth, maybe a couple are married, children are not coming in. Now, some couples have sex not for the pleasure of it, but because they want children to come out of it. You know, and that affects their sex life, you know, and stuff like that because of all the anxiety relating to that. And anxiety and those stresses can actually, you know, affect people's menstrual cycle and stuff like that, make infertility situations even worse than normal. You know, then also it affects their own identity. You know, because people label people with the things they cannot do or they don't have. So, for example, they don't have money. We label them as poor. So people may actually see themselves as poor, and that can affect them. You know, for example, if they are not giving birth, we label them as infertile. You know, so they see themselves as infertile. That labeling, you know, actually affects them. It affects their self-esteem, their confidence, their image, you know, and stuff like that. You know, like a barren woman, you know, that kind of thing. It's really, really negative and affects people. Or when they are not married, you know, people have that kind of a tag on them. You know, and that can really, really mess up, you know, their confidence and all that. And so they need some more energy to step in society, to step in work, to actually pursue their own goals and career because of the fact that someone is always looking at me in a certain negative light. And that is very, very, very negative and can affect their performance in any society. If they're not able to deal with all those things, they may go into depression and stuff like that. Suicide-related problems can even come up because of these things. You know, some people, there's something we call existential crisis, where existence doesn't make sense because of some challenges you are going through. You are struggling with some crisis here and there. That is actually affecting how you see life and how you're actually progressing with your life. And it's a major risk factor for suicide-related problems. You know.
The suicidal tendencies were going to follow right after. So in looking at this, what social clock is, and we touched on how it affects the feminine and how it affects masculine as well. Can I ask you this, that in all your years of experience as a as a psychologist, how would you place the percentage that does it affect women more, especially with Ghana? Looking at Ghana, does it affect women more or it affects men more? Where would you tip the scales?
I think that it depends.
Okay.
It depends on the issue. So, for example, when it comes to marriage, it would affect women more than men.
Okay.
You see, when it comes to work, because of our society and what they think that a man must go work and bring money home. You know, so when it comes to work, it may affect men more than women. You know, when it comes to giving birth, our society places more premium on women than men. So it would affect women more than men. You know, so it depends on the issue.
All right.
So depending on the issue, the impact on either men or women will be different.
Okay.
So you cannot actually put a percentage, a general percentage to everything. It depends on what the issues are. Because society expects different things from the different genders. And depending on what the expectations are, even depending on that, it will be different.
I asked you this because, you know, the general perception out there is that society, when it comes to these issues, is usually more, especially our Ghanaian society, is usually more harsh on ladies or on the feminine than it is on. So I'm really happy that you equaled it out there for us.
Yeah,
Now,
let me just chip in this.
Please
let
do.
me take an example, marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a societal perception. Realize that it places more premium on emphasis on women than on men, right? And I said that sometimes the wisdom behind that is that, for example, a man at 70 can marry easily.
Okay. Yeah.
If he has the means and probably he looks good and he's strong. You know, be able to marry maybe a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old, even though he's 70. You know, and societally is acceptable. But a woman at age 70, you get my point.
Yes,
it's
I
difficult.
do.
It's difficult. So, like I said earlier on, societal expectations, there's some wisdom there somewhere. You know, but when it becomes too much, or the focus is not measured, and we don't actually allow people to decide what they want, then it becomes problematic.
Okay, all right. I get that.
You get my point?
Yes, please, I do. All right. So, why should adults follow the social clock? I know you have highlighted its importance in how it helps, but on a general, let's look at why we should, or why do adults, why here psychologically would we want to follow the social clock or the social expectations? Yeah, that are
I
culture.
think that we usually want to do that because we live in a society and our influence in society is actually determined by the society. What is important in US may not be important in Ghana.
Yes.
So there are some influences you want to have in Ghana. It may not make the desired impact. If you had done it in the US, the impact would have been better. You know, so society also determines the kind of impact they accept.
Okay.
Even in communities, for example, in communities that is predominantly Christian, there's a certain influence that that community will appreciate. A community that is predominantly Muslim, there is a certain, you know, influence that they may appreciate more. So even on religion, the expectations is different. You know, when you're a Muslim, expectations of marriage is totally different from when you're a Christian.
Yeah,
yeah, so even on religious level, you know, the expectations are different. So usually adults want to actually follow in order to make a certain impact on the society, one. Two, to have a certain acceptance, you know, in the society. And three, to be able to also, you know, like I said, generally to be able to make sure that you are actually progressing with your life based on your knowledge about your own biological clock. Like I said, any woman who is in their 30s, they may not just be thinking about society, but they may be thinking about the fact that menopause is coming soon. So I need to hurry up. I hope you understand.
Yes.
And that personal, you know, progress expectations we have of ourselves may match up with societal expectations unconsciously. Not because we think of the society, but we think that our own, you know, biological clock is ticking, and we need to actually do things.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So, what would be some of the issues that a young adult would have? Some things that would prevent us from meeting these societal expectations or the social clock?
Yes. So there are multiple things. One, on the level of the family, parents who fail to be parents, they are actually disrupting the clock, whether biological or social clock.
What do you mean by parents who fail to be parents, Doctor?
A parent who neglects their kids, they are not taking care of their needs. So a child who should have probably been in the university, parents didn't help the child. So at age 25, they should have been doing their masters, but they may be doing university and a graduate. It's just because parents didn't help.
Okay.
You know, or even training at home, how to handle responsibilities, you know, perceptions about what you call it, life and all that. We develop from childhood. So an adult is a reflection of their childhood. It's as simple as that. What you're doing to a child is going to determine how their adulthood become. So parenting is so important and family support.
Okay.
And if someone who has been raped or so as a child, may have problems with marriage later on. They may be afraid of relationships just because of that traumatic, childhood experience. So abuse from home, abuse from the society can actually affect people significantly. Then also people's individual choices and decisions. Because as people age, they have more control over what they do. So a lot of things cannot be blamed on parenting at a certain age. Though parenting is important. Because as you grow older and you have more control over your choices and what you do and what you not do, now you have the opportunity to actually change things and to decide on things that would actually decide what will happen to you in future. So parents feel that individuals also fail to take certain decisions that can affect them later on. And any mistake people make in life can delay their own, clock. So, for example, you enter into multiple relationships without counsel or without guidance. What it means is that you may make too many relationship mistakes, and that can delay your marriage. So if you have not made those mistakes, with all the pain that comes with it, your marital clock may have been earlier and not delayed. So people's choices, individual choices and decisions and mistakes here and there can actually affect them. So for example, you go to school, you are supposed to learn, you don't learn. It may affect your education or career. The timings that, if you are supposed to actually be somewhere at this time, it may be delayed just because you actually didn't pay attention to your own life. Then also the society itself. Any society that does not help its members, and there are no opportunities in the society like we have in Ghana, opportunities for job, opportunities for career, opportunities for healthcare, opportunities to access mental health services, opportunities for recreation, opportunities for personal development here and there, opportunities for funding. Outside the country, sometimes when people want to set up their business, they have support. People may give them money, may give them soft loans and, things like that. That makes the economy and people setting up things very, very easy. But if it is not there, then it means that individuals will have to struggle, and that can actually affect them. And so some of this, and religion. If you look at religion and the demands from religion and provisions in religion, a lot of people are very religiously minded, such that it actually affects the decisions they take. So depending on what religion you have, and the teachings that you actually receive from there, it can actually affect you. If you were not part of that religion, maybe things would have been faster, things would have been easier. But because of the demands and the teachings and all the rights and stuff of that religious group, it can actually affect how you progress when it comes to some of these things.
All right, Doc.
And also health situations. I forgot to add. If someone is unwell, they may not be able to go to school. They may not be able to do this and that and that. And that can affect them. Some people have to defer their course because of ill health. Some people may actually have to delay certain things in their life because of that. And some issues that may come up, maybe marital issues. Because of this person you married, your education has come to an end. Because of this person you married, your career has come to an end. Marriage changes everything. Marriage has a significant impact on everything. And it's one of the major factors that delays people or progresses people. Some people, because of who they are married, the career is easy because they have funding, they have encouragement. Because of the person they married, their job is progressing, just because they have that kind of support. And if they are also married to the wrong people, that is when the stresses and all the problems begin. So they may have to suspend their decisions about certain things. Childbearing can also, because she became pregnant, she may have to delay her school and stuff like that. Teenage pregnancy and even pregnancy, normal pregnancies in marriages here and there can actually change people's clock significantly.
Okay, all right. I think that last point there was. I think we could not have done away with that one. Thank you for chipping it in. But we have looked at what hinders them. Now, is there any way forward if you have been hindered? If I mean you're for some reason or the other you were not able to meet these societal expectations. Is there still something we can do? And if there is, what? Well, how can we help? Because somebody may be listening to us who feels that they have, they did not meet it. So maybe they are a failure, they are this, they are that, they are that. Is there any hope for such a person? Please help. Yeah.
Okay, so there are about 4 things I'll suggest. One, leave the past. You know, a lot of people are holding on to their past, and it's affecting their future. So your parents didn't do well. Leave it. Move on. You can do well. Because there are a lot of people who are doing well now. Their parents didn't do well, but they actually made a decision. Okay, yes, the guy walked away from your life. Leave it and move on. See, when you hold on to your past, you delay your future. So people should actually draw a line between the present and the past, the future and the past, and just decide to move on. They should just forgive and just move on. You know, just move on. That is the first thing. Second, you know, learn the lessons of the past in order to succeed in future, and use the past as a tool to actually, you know, carve the future. Maybe there's someone who was raped, but now is using the rape as a tool to help other girls so that they are not raped. And because of that, she's a speaker worldwide.
Wow.
So the same rape, she found impact in it. And she's actually using that as a tool, to make changes in society.
That's good. Yeah.
I hope you understand.
Yes.
Because past events, they may be painful, but they actually prepare us for better things ahead. So people should use the lessons of the past to improve on their own lives and use that as a tool to influence the next generation. And that may be the reason why they will rise. So some people may have failed several times in business. Now they've developed concepts in business. They are speakers worldwide, or they are mentoring people worldwide. You get my point?
Yes.
So, but someone is actually dwelling on that same failure and blaming everybody else and not actually making progress. So people should actually learn the lessons of the past and also use those lessons to improve on their own lives and actually make some impact in the future. 3, people should actually find out how things are done and do it. For example, some people are delaying their masters because they think there's no money. But there are people who are doing masters, but their financial situation is worse off than these people. So the problem is not finance. The problem is the decision to go buy the forms and apply. Because when you buy the forms and you apply, some way, somehow, money will come from somewhere. You know, so people are actually delaying things because they think they cannot do it. Sometimes I tell people that take the jump, even if you break your leg, fix POP and continue.
Yeah.
And that is how life is. So people should actually take the step. You know, they should actually find out how did this person do it? How can it be done? And actually do it. Instead of giving excuses for not doing what they are supposed to do. It's going to help them. 4, people should focus on their lives and forget about everybody else. Because everybody has their own time and that is set by God for them. Because the more you focus on other people, the more you lose yourself and your own timing. You know, some people will go 100 meters and will get there in the next 9 seconds, 10 seconds they are there. Some others will do marathon, others will do 200 meters, others will do 400 meters. We're all different. We are not in a race with each other. We are in our own race, but we complement each other to be able to run our individual races. Because the more we focus on others, we lose our own focus, we lose energy, we lose our own drive, and we actually become more discouraged. So people should actually focus on their own self, focus on their own plans, and they should become better versions of themselves instead of a photocopy of someone else.
Okay.
So you are unique. Improve on you. Not going to become like another person. Because the more you do that, you lose your originality. And sometimes you are even greater than the person you want to become like. You know, when you become like the person, you lose your own relevance. You lose your own greatness. Until you become you, you cannot shine. If you become like someone else, you actually shine in their glory and not your own glory. But when you're able to develop yourself, you You're able to build your own capacity. Focus on your own gifts and talents. You focus on your own character and your virtues, and you actually yourself to become a better version of yourself. You realize that you're able to do things. Because until you become yourself, you can't actually rise in this life. A lot of people are in the wrong career because society expects them to be like this, or family expects them to be like that. You know, instead of focusing on their own talents and interests, they're actually running, a certain career which is not them. And they wake up every day not satisfied here and there. So people should actually focus on their own self. If at some age family has an influence, at a certain age when the influence is no longer there, you have every decision to change to do what you feel God wants you to do. And the final thing I'll add is that anytime you realize you're struggling, speak to a professional who can help. There are a lot of mental health professionals who can help you with career and existential related problems in your own life. You know, there are counselors, there are psychologists, there are psychiatrists, there are all kinds of people who are there. There are coaches here and there who can actually help you take the right decisions. So people can actually make progress regardless of whatever situations they may find themselves. It is possible.
Okay. So, Doc, I have two questions here for you. I think one is already. That's before I bring in my final question. Why is social clock vital for our culture? Does it create unnecessary pressure and stress, in your opinion? That will be the first one. I think that you've touched on it in a way, but I want you to answer that question. How does social clock impact our society in terms of raising children? And does it create a competitive situation of being like the ambassadors? That's the question there. Two questions there for you. So
I think the first one, sometimes societal, pressures is meant to protect society.
Okay.
Because when you progress, the society progresses. When you don't, the society won't. So sometimes maybe a parent will put pressure on you to give birth because they are thinking about when they die, when you die, who would take the family name?
Yeah.
You get my point?
Yes.
So sometimes those pressures are meant to protect the society or progress the society. So that's why I said it's not entirely bad. But when it puts undue pressure on people, then it's just negative, and it's not too good. Yes. And the second question has to do with the fact that parents would have to be very, very careful how they push their kids based on societal expectations. Otherwise, those kids would grow up to become what they were created to become. They will become what the society expects them to become. There is this concept we call real self and ideal self. It has to do with what society expects you to become and what you were actually created to become. So if what you were created to become matches what you are expected to become, you have fulfillment, you can shine. But what if what you were created to become does not match what the society expects you to become or is forcing you to become? There is this conflict all the time that creates a lot of psychological problems like depression and stress and anxiety and stuff like that. So society putting pressure on parents can actually force parents to actually make their kids become what they are not supposed to become. For example, society expects every woman to become a nurse and every male to become a doctor. I don't even know where that came from. So every girl growing up, maybe you will become a nurse. If it's a boy, become a doctor. It's just totally wrong. It has nothing to do with gender.
Yeah.
So that can influence parents to actually influence their children to be some way. A parent may say, in our family, there is no lawyer here. So when I look at your head, you'll be a lawyer. No, but the person was created to be an architect. Some parents may say, in this society, if you don't become a teacher, there are no opportunities for you. So be a teacher. Meanwhile, the person wants to be a carpenter or a fashion designer. So those kind of expectations from societies can actually put pressure on kids. Or you may see a neighbor where all the children are lawyers. So it puts undue pressure on you, and that competitive edge that these children should also match up to become doctors or lawyers or teachers or something like that. That can really affect them. And those kids may not rise the way God wants them to rise. You know, but if we had actually guided them, you know, I think there's a scripture that really, when it comes to these things, I think Proverbs 22 verse 6 says, train up the child in the way they should go. And when they grow up, they will not depart from it.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. The Amplified Version will say, teaching them, you know, to seek God's will and wisdom for their abilities and talents, so that when they grow up, they will not depart from it.
You didn't tell us about your religious side.
In the way they must go. What the Bible actually means is that they have certain abilities and talents. So guide them in that way, so that when they grow, they will not depart from it. So everybody who is on earth has been predetermined or predestined by God to actually function. And that predetermination actually, ensures that they were born with certain abilities and talents.
Yeah.
And those abilities and talents is supposed to help them become what they were predestined to become. So if we don't match ability with what we expect them to become, then we are creating problems for them. This guy can sing, but he's in a consulting room trying to make sense in a consulting room. It becomes difficult. So they become doctors, yet they can sing. And they throw away the singing and they just prescribe for patients. So that person may actually be a good doctor, but if the person had actually moved in the area of his talent, he would have been an international star. You know, so society actually limits people's rise in life if we actually force them to become what they were not created to become.
Okay. All right. So with that said, my last question would be, you've elaborated so much on the roles of parents, and when it comes to their expectations or how they raise us to meet societal expectations. Let's shift a little away from that and look at the role of the society, because there are other key people in society who influence our lives. You touched a little on religion there as well, and a little on let me say government, certain policies and all that is supposed to help us. Would there be any other key functions, yes, of society that is supposed to help bring out or churn out, the best out of us, helping us to not just meeting what society expects, but also, as you put it rightly, what we ourselves are supposed to become? And when you are done with that, kindly polish this one up for me. That how can we as a society help to remove these bad pressure, what we have been able to identify here today as bad or putting unnecessary pressure? Maybe a typical example would be like when you go to certain societies, even within our own here, Ghana, you find out that we expect that at a certain age, somebody should have done well. You should be having your own house, you should be having this, and people are not able to meet that expectation, and so because of that they are forced to do a whole lot of bad things. Another example is where society has ruled out certain jobs, like being a carpenter. We don't really see it. So when your child chooses carpentry compared to choosing being a doctor, when your child would rather shun being a lawyer and then say, I want to be a musician, I want to be an artist, then we kind of see these job fields as being unserious. So how, as a society, can we help reshape this kind of thinking? How can we change this kind of, bad expectations?
Yes, I think that generally society, we need to actually look at not just our society, but what happens on a global stage and how countries actually have progressed.
All right.
Look at China. Almost everything comes from China.
Yeah.
And we buy. And it's based on people's talent. As I speak to you, I'm also a carpenter.
All right.
You see, I do carpentry. You see, and I love wood. I do it. You see, I do a lot of graphics. Even before I spoke to you, I was doing some graphic design for some people. But I'm also a medical doctor. So society would have to change. And I realized that nations develop when people focus on people's talents. And when people are able to develop their talents, they shine, they rise, they become prosperous. It's as simple as that. You can be a very good carpenter. No, the furniture in the president's room isn't it done by a carpenter? Yes, the president's hair, who barbers it for him? Isn't it the barber?
Yes.
You know, Sarkodie's hair, who does it for him? Isn't it the barber?
Yes.
And that barber, doesn't the barber charge him?
He does.
So the world is changing. Now I know university students who are into farming, because farming, when you do it and do it well, it's an amazing enterprise. You know, when you do poultry, you do it well, it's an amazing enterprise. I know a university graduate who is now a photographer. It's a big business. So we need to shift from this typical office-related kind of thing where people think that, you know, the typical careers, you have to be a doctor, a teacher, a lawyer, and those things. You know, but to know that even if you are a lawyer, you have talents that you have to develop. You know, if you are a doctor, you have talents you have to develop. You know, so we have to shift that mindset. Then the second thing is that we need to now start providing opportunities for people to develop their talents in these areas. You know, now I tell every university graduate that, you know, learn something in the area of your talent. Because when you do that, nobody can sack you. Nobody can take it from you. So when you are employed as an accountant in a certain place, they can take that job from you. But if you develop your talent, let's say in hair, you know, making hair because you love it, it is yours. Nobody can sack you. Nobody can take it from you. So that even if you are working as an accountant in a certain firm, you can still be doing your hair business because that is yours. You know, and nobody can actually take it from you. So develop something nobody can take from you, because that is where the world is going to. You know, and I think people should mind their own business in the society. We should just mind our own business. If someone is not giving birth, how does that concern you? Or if someone is unemployed, how does that concern you? You know? So I think we should just mind our own business and discourage anything that actually affects people's mental health.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Newman Arthur. I am very, very happy we had this discussion, and I know that you are feeling the same. You are feeling the same right now. We will call on you maybe later. We'll try and delve deeper or look at other issues that affect us psychologically and also societally, all of us. So thank you very much for today. Thank you. Have a blessed day, Doctor.
Have a blessed day.
All right, so we have had, yes, not just a fun time, but for me, it's been very, very informative and educative as well. This trickles down into so many aspects of our lives. It concerns everybody. And for me, if nothing at all, if I took nothing away from today, I heard Dr. Newman Arthur say, mind my own business. I'm going to mind my own business from now on. But for me and the rest of the crew, this is how we sign off. We wrap up. Yes, this is how we wrap up. Okay, so from here, just one message here. I believe I've done these two questions already. So yes, one last one saying wonderful conversation. Wonderful conversation. I'm just happy that you are listening and that we are all learning one or two things there. So for me and the AM Ghana crew, yes, Mary, I hope you've learned a lot. Yes, Christian, Joshua, Pep, I hope we have all learned a lot. Henry, as for you, I saw you jotting things, so I know I'm coming to you for everything you've jotted down. Yes, so for me and my crew, I just mentioned, we say enjoy your day. Have a real blessed day. Remember, it's not about what you reap, the harvest you reap throughout the day, but about the seeds that you have sown. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back here tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. with the news. Don't do what I wouldn't do. Sorry about that. Don't do what I wouldn't do. See you tomorrow. Bye.